My grandma was a force of nature, and I loved her. When my grandma died, the relatives locked up the house, and it remained untouched for 10 years. We're Italian, and we don't let go easily except for regular bi-weekly cleanings. I eventually bought the house and started clearing things out because everything was exactly how it was the day she died. The first night we were in the house, it was hot as Hades, but my kids teenagers tried on grandma's fancy robe, jewelry, and wiglets. They rooted through dressers and trunks. It was all fun and games until it wasn't. In the middle of the night, my 19-year-old daughter came running into our bed crying and yelling about the woman standing at the end of her bed. It seems it got very cold in her room, and she sat up to pull up the quilt. A woman was standing at the end of her bed staring. Beds were original to the house. We laughed and pooh-poohed her, but she refused to return to that room, so she stayed in our bed that night and many nights to follow. I did tell her that we were sleeping in the bed where my grandfather died, and she vowed never again to return. On the second night in the house, my husband woke up and asked who was in the hallway. Thinking it was one of the other kids, he got up to look around but saw no one. It was one of the girls in their robes heading for the bathroom. Except it wasn't. My husband, the nuclear scientist, decided it was just headlights passing by, my beloved voice of reason. A few weeks passed, and all was quiet, except for the middle of the night smell of brewing coffee and burnt toast, Grandpa's favorite breakfast. My daughter went next door to the cousin's house to let out the dog and returned with a picture of a family reunion. She pointed out my grandmother and said, "This is the lady standing at the end of my bed." She had never met her great-grandmother. I went down to the basement and chatted with Grandma, telling her that while I loved her presence there, she was scaring the kids. I told her that I loved her, would take care of the house she and my grandfather built, and that it was okay for her to move on. Been quiet ever since.